On today's Weekend Workbench, we're keeping it simple with some very basic but very important home tips.
Which side do you cut the pizza with?
This side.
Okay.
Always this side.
I'm learning to repair a screen door, install a dimmer switch, and install a combo smoke carbon monoxide detector.
One less thing you have to poke with a broomstick in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Chicago's DIY guide to home repair starts now.
It's going to be pretty loud, so get ready.
I never knew it was this easy.
Let's go for it.
The most important thing is to have the right tools.
This is a great, easy do-it-yourself project.
I can't wait to see what I'm going to learn today.
Weekend Workbench is sponsored by Ram.
Welcome back to the Ram Truck Workshop at the Rebuilding Exchange. We're with Sean Bueno, owner of Dad's Handyman Service on the north side. Sean, you brought in a screen today. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, we've got a screen door here.
Okay.
And we have a little hole right here in the screen. So I'm going to show you two ways of repairing this, okay? We're going to do localized repair, where we just cover the hole. And then we're going to show you the more correct way of doing it, replacing the whole piece of screen with a piece of fresh screen so that the whole door is intact and looks uniform.
Before we begin this screen repair project, here's what we'll need. To simply patch a hole, we need a patch of aluminum screen, available at any hardware store, a putty knife, and a razor blade. Easy as that. To replace the entire screen in the door, we'll need a roll of fiberglass screening, a roll of spline to hold the screen in place, a spline roller, a putty knife, a razor blade, and a screwdriver.
Where do we begin on this project?
Well, the first thing I'm going to show you is how to patch the screen without redoing the whole screen, okay? And so what you need to do is you need to get a piece of aluminum screen. We want to determine how big the hole is, and we want to cut a piece of screen patch large enough to cover that space. So you just take your thumb, and you're going to work out little pieces of threads. Okay, and it's going to leave us like a fringe of screen.
Sure.
So then we're going to take our putty knife, and we're going to hold it right up to where the fringe starts,
Okay.
and we're going to bend it over. So now it's in a 90-degree angle from the screen patch. And so we're going to put it right over the hole in our screen.
Okay.
And we're going to just kind of wiggle the patch on so that all the pieces of aluminum screen that we cut out, the fringe, poke through. And then once they poke through, you're going to bend them from underneath with your finger.
Yes.
It's very simple to do.
To patch a hole, you can only use aluminum because the fiberglass won't hold in the same way. But if you got more than 5 minutes to spend, you can use the fiberglass screening to replace the whole screen and have your door looking as good as new.
That was the easy way to repair a screen, but I'd like to show you the more correct way of replacing a screen.
First step, unscrew the door's handle and set it aside.
So now the next part of this project is to take the screen off, okay? What I'd like to do is use the putty knife
Oh, there you go.
just to
Stab a hole
poke
right in
through
there, yeah.
the spline, and then now go ahead and just work it all the way down, just pull it up all the way down the side of the window frame.
If you're working with an older screen, the spline can be brittle. If that's the case, just work slowly, making sure to get it all out before you replace it. Once the spline is out, the screen is free. Now it's time to get your new screen in place.
So how much does a roll like this cost?
A roll of screen like this should cost under 20 bucks.
Before you head to the hardware store to pick up your screening, be sure to take measurements of your door. These rolls come in different sizes, and you'll want to buy a wide enough roll that you'll have excess on each side.
So the next step is to take our spline, okay? And we want to locate our track, okay? So the track is where we pulled the spline out of.
Sure.
And we're going to take our spline roller, and I just want to make an indentation. I'm just rolling it right across, putting the spline roller into the channel, and just rolling it right across. Now you want to make sure that the screen is taut as possible and straight as possible, because we don't want a lot of waves once we do the final install. Now this is a very important part. We're going to push the spline into the channel. We're going to get the putty knife again. Okay? And we just want to make sure we push this down. So now we're going to use the roller, okay? And we're basically going to roll this spline into the channel. Okay, now this is going to be a little bit difficult because the screen that we have is really thick.
What's the difference between the two sides of that roller?
The flat end is more to create the channel.
Okay.
And the side with the divot in there is more to push the spline in.
Which side do you cut the pizza with?
This side.
Okay.
Always this side. Just like any home improvement project, if it's your first time doing it, you have to be really patient. Don't get frustrated. Don't be intimidated. The most important thing is to have the right tools.
And to finish off the corners, the right tool is the putty knife. And of course, Sean puts me on the spot to see if I've got the skill.
Let's see if you can do it here.
Do it
okay?
without ripping the screen.
Yeah, just do your best. So the next step is going to be to cut the excess screen off. Okay? And that's going to be pretty simple to do, but you've got to be really careful because we just rescreened the whole door, and we don't want to cut anything in the middle, of course. We just want to cut the edges.
Sean shows me how to carefully trim the excess screen by using a razor blade to cut around the spline. And then it's my turn.
There you go. Nicely done. Okay, look how nice and clean that is.
And soon enough, we're on the last step, just reattaching the door handle.
Honestly, I never knew it was this easy to just replace a screen. This is amazing.
Not only did I just learn the super cheap quick fix to patching a screen hole, but in only 30 minutes and for just $25, I now know how to replace an entire screen. Not bad for this novice. And my skills keep improving. Next up, I'm getting my electrical on and trying my hand at a simple improvement that will help you set the mood and save some money on your electrical bill.
Let there be light.
If the professionals on Weekend Workbench can teach me how to be handy, you know they must be good. Learn more about these home experts at cltv.com/workbench. So far today, I've learned how to repair and replace a ripped screen door, but the best is yet to come because I'm about to learn how to install a dimmer switch. Let the sparks fly.
Personally, I like to save a few bucks anywhere I can. I also like to set the mood once in a while. And when I think about setting the mood, I think about the mensch with the wrench, Michael Goldstein. Okay, I don't really think about Michael Goldstein when I think about setting the mood, but I do think about him when I'm thinking about dimmers.
Today we're going to install a dimmer switch, which is going to allow you to adjust the light level. It's great in pretty much any room in your house. Basically a simple project that won't take very long and is pretty inexpensive to do.
It also helps with energy efficiency, right?
Right, because you're not running the bulbs at full capacity, so every time you dim them a little bit, it saves you, a couple pennies, but pennies add up over time.
Before you start this project, here's what you'll need. A Phillips head screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver, some electrical tape, and of course, the dimmer. This one costs us about 15 bucks at a hardware store.
So the first step is to remove the cover plate here. Just hang on to this so we can put it back on when we're done. I'm gonna go shut off the power and I'll be right back.
Once the power is turned off at the breaker box, we're safe to remove the switch from the wall and disconnect the wires.
I see like a ton of wires going on. It looks like a mess, almost like a squirrel's nest or something back there. How do we make sense of all that?
So the only wires we need to worry about is this red one, which is going to be our power wire, and this orange one, which is what feeds up to the lighting fixtures.
Okay.
So I'm going to remove the screws here.
Okay.
And then on the new dimmer, they're just going to match up with the wires. So in our case, we're just going to be able to connect both of these wires to the wires off our dimmer, and we're ready to go. So can you hand me the dimmer?
Sure.
So this switch allows you to use it for two different setups.
Okay.
One setup is what we're gonna do, which is when you have a single switch. The other setup is for when you have multiple switches, called a three-way setup, when you have two switches, one on each side of the room. A little confusing, but if you ask at the store, they'll make sense of it. Make sure that you tell them how many switches you have that control your lights. In this case, we're not using this wire, it's already capped off.
Okay.
And then if you wanna hand me the wire caps, I just need to connect these two wires, make it nice and snug.
So these little wire caps, are these something you can find at the stores?
They have these at the store. These actually come with the dimmer. And we're gonna connect these two.
As an added precaution, the mensch likes to wrap the caps with some electrical tape to ensure they're secure inside the wall.
Once we do this, we'll put the switch back in the wall and turn the power on and light it up.
Now you're making this look really easy, but I mean, if somebody at home, if they have any apprehensions whatsoever, it's best to call in a professional, right?
I would, because you're dealing with electrical, so it's a little more dangerous, but if you're comfortable with it, the steps are what we just showed you. There's really nothing else to it.
You ready to flick the power back on?
Let's do it. Power's back on. Why don't you flip it on and see how we did?
All right, here's the switch and the dimmers. Let there be light. Let's dim it a little bit, and I promised you I'd set the mood for you there, Michael.
In less than 15 minutes and around 20 bucks, I now have complete control over the light in the room.
Small price to pay for a little romance.
There you go.
Okay, romance is nice and all, but let's face it, safety is what really counts.
A guy like me should be able to tackle this, right?
It's a no-brainer.
Perfect. I'm learning to install a combo smoke and carbon monoxide detector when we come back. And if you just can't wait, hit us up on Facebook or Twitter to get even more tips on DIY home repair in Chicago. You know, the Ram 1500 looks pretty sleek on the outside, but Ram's award-winning interior will take you from the hardware store to home in quiet comfort, no matter how many times you have to head back to the store for supplies. Repair a screen door? Check. Create some mood lighting with the dimmer switch? Done. I'm on a home repair roll, and it's time to consolidate a couple of very important safety devices in your home. You know, so when something starts beeping in the middle of the night, you don't have to guess where to direct your anger.
We are here with Michael Goldstein, also known as the Mensch with the Wrench here on the north side. I know this looks a little funny. We're not actually this tall. We are tall, but not this tall. But Michael, we're gonna change this carbon monoxide alarm today. We're gonna switch it out with the dual smoke and carbon monoxide detector.
Right.
Before we get started, Michael gives me a quick lesson in where smoke and carbon detectors should be placed.
You should have it near the bedrooms. You should have it wherever you have gas appliances, near a furnace, a hot water heater, the kitchen stove if it's gas. Check with your local building codes. They'll be able to guide you a little bit better.
Replace them every 5 to 7 years and change your batteries every 6 months. All right, now that we've got your basics out of the way, let's install a new combo detector. All we're gonna need for this project is one flathead screwdriver and the new combo unit. We bought this one for $35.
A guy like me should be able to tackle this, right?
It's a no-brainer. The difficulty with this one is that it's dealing with electrical, so if you're not comfortable with electrical, you should hire someone to do it. But a battery-operated one, it's just simple, follow the directions and mount it on the wall or the ceiling.
Okay, why don't we get started?
All right.
Step 1, as with any electrical work, turn off the power.
First thing we're gonna do is just twist it out of the mounting bracket. And you see there's a wiring harness here. I'm just gonna unclip that and get rid of the old one.
Okay.
So in this case, we have 3 wires here. The black is gonna be our hot, which is our live electrical connection.
Sure.
The white is our neutral, which is gonna be connected to the white in the ceiling.
Okay.
And then this third one is a relay wire.
Okay, yeah, I noticed it wasn't connected to anything.
So this one is capped. In this case, their units are not all linked together.
Oh, okay.
But in some newer homes, according to building codes, they have to be linked together.
The relay wire would sound all the alarms no matter where in the home the smoke or gas was detected. If you do have a relay wire, you'll just connect it the same way you'll connect the neutrals and the hots.
We're just gonna wire it up how it's currently wired.
Okay.
We're going to remove the old bracket. The new one will slide right into place where the old one was. All right, so we're gonna disconnect the old wires
Okay.
and put in our new wiring harness. I'm gonna disconnect that white one.
Once we disconnect the old wiring harness, we connect the new one with the wire nuts that came with the new alarm. Remember, connect hot to hot and neutral to neutral. Michael always likes to reinforce those connections with a little electrical tape.
So we got those all taped up. I'm gonna tuck these back in here. And we are going to go ahead.
You need a bracket?
I have the bracket right here. And we're just gonna reuse the same screws that were up there.
I'm starting to get the steps down.
So right here you see it has a yellow tab that
Okay.
says pull back to activate battery.
Okay.
I like to plug this in first to make sure that everything is working.
Sure.
And then you can test the battery. So I'm gonna go flip on the power and then we'll get into testing this.
Okay. All right, Michael, power's back on.
So now that the power's on, we're just gonna connect this. And we hear that beep, and it tells us to test it. So now I know the electrical's working, pull out our battery.
Okay.
Push.
We have a beep there.
Push test button.
Exactly. So we're gonna now connect everything, tuck it into the ceiling, align it into our bracket, twist it on.
Okay.
And here's our test. It's gonna be pretty loud, so get ready.
All right.
Fire.
It'll go through its cycle. In this case, it tells you there's a fire. The next one, it'll tell you carbon monoxide.
Warning, carbon monoxide.
And then it'll beep one more time, and then we'll have the green light go on, which will tell us that we're live and working.
Boom.
So you see that light?
There you go.
It means we're all set. That's it.
Cool. Now, is there a benefit to having one smoke and carbon monoxide alarm combo as opposed to the 2 we had?
The important thing is that you know everything's up to date and you change the batteries. In this case, it just makes everything a little bit easier.
That's one less thing you have to poke with a broomstick in the middle of the night.
Exactly. This does have a hush button.
Yeah, I see that.
This project cost $35 and took just 15 minutes out of our lives, which seems totally worth it because someday these alarms could save our lives. It's a very simple and very necessary project that I know I can now do myself. Feels good to get something accomplished around your Chicago home, right? Well, even if you don't feel properly equipped to handle the installation of a smoke or carbon monoxide detector, you can still help out your bottom line by keeping up with proper maintenance. And when we come back, Michael Goldstein is going to tell you what you can do to keep that fridge in good shape. All right, I've repaired a screen, installed a dimmer, and learned to make my home safer with a brand new combo smoke and carbon monoxide detector. But the easiest way to save some money around your house is to avoid those kind of repairs in the first place, which is why Michael Goldstein is back with one last tip for us.
When was the last time you cleaned your refrigerator coils? Today, that's going to be our quick fix. We're going to pull the grate off here, and for about 10 bucks, you can pick yourself up a refrigerator coil cleaner. What we're going to do is we're going to slide it under here, pull all the dust and dirt out of the grates. If this is something you might notice if you have dust buildup on your grate, either on the floor or above, you'll see dust on the floor, and it definitely helps your refrigerator run more efficiently. You want to make sure that it's keeping your food cool. If yours is not a bottom mount, check your manual. It could be coils on the back where you have to slide the refrigerator out, or even up top. And that's today's quick fix.
Doing a DIY project is a great way to save a few bucks. But if you're unsure, it's always best to call in a pro.
Promotional consideration is provided by the Rebuilding Exchange. Find reclaimed building materials and learn more about sustainable reuse in Chicago at rebuildingexchange.org. And Mensch with a Wrench. Visit menschwrenchchicago.com for more information. Weekend Workbench is sponsored by Ram. Guts, glory, Ram.